My name is Lieutenant Emily Hart, and on the day I pinned on my U.S. Army officer's buzz. My dad used my commissioning gift to pay off his bookie. He shook my hand outside the chapel at Fort Benning, hugged me so tight my dress whites creased, and slipped a small blue envelope into my palm. "For your first car as an officer," he said, smiling the practiced smile of a salesman who's almost closed the deal. "You've earned it, LT," everyone clapped. My mom dabbed her eyes with a tissue. My classmates' parents took pictures. I tucked the envelope into my pocket and told myself that this moment, this gesture, erased everything. What nobody in that courtyard knew was that 3 hours later, while I was at a formal dinner for my ROTC battalion, my father would be sitting at a blackjack table at a riverboat casino in Missouri, handing that envelope to a pit boss named Tony and saying, "Double or nothing. I swear I can win it back for her." He did and single quotes Welcome to Quiet Storm Stories, US edition, where daughters who grew up saluting the flag and covering for their parents finally tell you what happened when they stopped being the good soldier. At home, if you've ever been the straighter kid who dragged yourself out of a chaotic house by sheer will, only to find your family still reaching through the bars of your new life for cash. This one's for you. Let me take you back to the start of this operation. I grew up in a small town outside St. Louis, Missouri, in a split-level house that always smelled like cheap cologne and yesterday's beer. My dad, Mark Hart, wasn't military. He sold cars. On a good month, he was the king of the lot. Handshakes, jokes, free tickets to Cardinals games. On a bad month, he came home loud and sour, muttering about tire kickers and idiots who think sticker price is negotiable. My mom worked nights at a nursing home, rolling old men so they wouldn't get bed sores. She was 5'2" and tied down to the bone. Her job at home was simple: keep the lights on, keep dad from exploding, keep me and my little brother alive. We didn't have much, but we had one clear rule: you don't talk about the money. Bills were handled. Dad always had a system. The system involved a lot of envelopes, a lot of cash carried in his pocket, and a lot of late-night phone calls where his voice dropped to a desperate hiss. I learned early that when the phone rang after 10 p.m. and Dad stepped outside to answer it, we turned the TV up. When I was 15, I found a crumpled piece of paper in the kitchen bin with player marker, $5,000 printed across the top, and my father's name beneath it. Casino paper. I didn't know how markers worked yet, but I knew enough. This wasn't a credit card bill. This was a promise to pay a debt to people who wouldn't send polite letters. I confronted him once, that year. He laughed too loudly, hugged me too hard, and said, "Sweetheart, I'm up overall. You have to take risks to get ahead." My mom looked me dead in the eye over his shoulder and shook her head, very slightly. The universal sign for drop it or it gets worse. So I did what eldest daughters from chaotic homes do. I built my escape plan. I joined JROTC. I ran in the dark before school. I kept my grades in the sky. My guidance counselor said you could get into a good private college with your scores. I said, "I need out without debt," he said. ROTC scholarship. West Point, Annapolis, take your pick. I chose West Point because it felt like the furthest point from the roulette wheel in AC. Charles. My freshman year, Dad was a minor celebrity in town. Mark's girls at West Point. He wore that fact like a medal he'd earned. He loved the idea of me being an officer in theory. In practice, he still called for small favors. Can you put 50 in your mom's account this month? I'm a little light. Your brother needs books. You know I'd do it if I could. I swear this is the last time. Kiddo, it never was. I worked part-time in the cadet library and sent home little transfers, telling myself I was helping Mom, not funding his table. He never asked outright for my loan refunds, my stipend, my savings. He didn't need to. The guilt did the work. By senior year, I had my branch assignment, military intelligence, and my first salute coin already tucked in my pocket. Dad drove out for commissioning. Wore a new suit I suspected he couldn't afford. Shook hands with my professors like he'd personally coached me through calculus. At the pinning ceremony, on the steps with the Hudson at my back and my classmates beside me, he handed me that envelope. "For your first car as an officer," he said. "So you don't have to drive some junker. Hart women don't ride in beaters. Inside, when I opened it later in the bathroom stall, were 10 crisp $100 bills and a handwritten note. To 2 LTE Heart, you outran this town. By something that proves it. Love, Dad, I cried over that note. All the barbs and bruises and late night shouting blurred for a moment. He'd done something good, something just for me. I folded the cash back into the envelope, put it in the inside pocket of my classer jacket, and decided maybe things were changing. Maybe my commission had shaken him awake. I was wrong. 2 days later, I flew home for a 4-day break before reporting to Fort Huachuca for bulk. Mom greeted me at the airport with a hug that smelled like coffee and bleach. Your dad's so proud, she said, tears in her eyes. He keeps telling everyone at the dealership his daughter's a real officer. And a gentle woman, Dad was waiting in the parking lot, leaning against our old Pontiac. He hugged me, slung my duffel in the trunk, and chatted all the way home about promotions at the lot that hadn't quite worked out and a big score that was just around the corner the first night back. I tucked the blue envelope under my mattress, the way I used to hide babysitting money the second night. After an awkward dinner where Mom barely spoke and Dad drank 3 beers in 40 minutes, I went to my high school friend's house to catch up. I got home around midnight. The house was quiet. Dad's car was gone. I went straight to my room. That half nostalgic, half creepy experience of being in a space that's yours but not yours anymore. Posters faded, trophies dusty. I reached under the mattress. The envelope wasn't there. At first, I thought I'd put it somewhere safer and forgotten. Deployment brain before deployment. I tore the room apart. Drawers, closet, old jeans pockets. Nothing. I went into my parents' room, on Dad's dresser. Under a stack of unpaid bills and a chipped World's Best Dad mug was the blue envelope. Empty. The note lay crumpled beside it. A cold sensation crawled up my spine. A kind of quiet that felt exactly like the moment before a firefight. When the birds stop and the air thickens, I walked back to the kitchen, sat at the table, and waited. Dad came home at 17 a.m. I knew the exact time because I watched the red digits on the microwave click over and hated them for it. He came in through the garage, smelling like stale smoke and desperation, jacket slung over his shoulder. He froze when he saw me. He said, to Bright. Didn't know you were still up. Big day tomorrow. Should get some sleep. LT, where's my money? I asked. He blinked. What money? The commissioning gift, I said. The $1,000. The envelope you told me not to spend on anyone else. He did a passable job of looking confused. Oh, that, he said. I was going to talk to you about that. Something came up. Your Uncle Ray. Stop, I said sharply. Don't bring other people into this. His jaw tightened. You're tired, he said. We'll talk about it in the morning. We're talking about it now, I said. My voice surprised both of us. It had the command cadence I'd been practicing on Landnave lanes, not the pleading tone he was used to from me. Where is my money? He dropped the mask. Jesus, it was $1,000, he snapped. I'll give it back to you. I just had a little bad luck at the casino. I was going to double it for you. You think I wanted to lose it? So you took it without asking, I said. Gambled it, lost it. And I'm supposed to be fine because your intention was to win. He flung his hands out. I raised you, he said. 4, don't give me that, he said. You're acting like I cleaned out your account. It was a gift. Gifts don't come with terms and conditions. Gifts don't get taken back, I said. That was my commissioning money. You stole it, he flinched at that word. Not because he felt guilty. Because he didn't like hearing me say out loud what he'd always dressed up as borrowing or fixing cash flow. We're family, he said. Family shares. You've got an officer paycheck coming. You'll be fine. Your mother and I read you, clothed you. You'd be nothing without me. I've put more than 1,000 into you. This isn't about maths, I said quietly. It's about trust, he snorted. Don't drag Mom into this. I cut in. She didn't take the envelope. He looked at me hard. She didn't stop me either, he said. Which means we're on the same team. You're the one walking out. There it was, the emotional booby trap. If I pushed this, I wasn't defending my boundary. I was abandoning my parents. My 16-year-old self would have folded right there. Apologized for overreacting, offered to help him pay the casino back. My 22-year-old officer self had just spent for years Being trained to see through bad framing, I leave for Fort Huachuca in 3 days, I said. When I go, I'm not leaving any more cash here. Not under mattresses, not in socks, not for emergencies. You have burned that bridge. He laughed, mean and sharp. Ooh, listen to her, he sneered. Lieutenant Hart laying down the law. It's $1,000. Emily, don't be dramatic. This isn't about the 1,000, I said. It's about the next 10. And the 10 after that. It's about you looking me in the eye on my commissioning day and using my pride to fund your habit. My voice cracked on pride. I hated that dot. He saw it and went in for the kill. You think you're better than us now, he said. Just because you put on a uniform and saluted some colonel. You can take the girl out of this house, but you'll always be my kid. That means your wins are our wins. I stared at him. No, I said. My wins are my wins. What I choose to share is a gift, not tribute. He rolled his eyes. You sound like a TED Talk, he said. You'll be back, Em, when you need help with something real. You'll remember who was there. I stood up. I remember, I said. It just doesn't mean what you think it does. I went upstairs, took the recruiting poster of a female officer off my teenage wall, rolled it up, and put it in my duffel. It felt symbolic. I didn't want to leave the image of my future self watching over a room that no longer belonged to me. The next morning, Mom cornered me while Dad was in the shower. You know, he has a problem, she said, voice low. He can't help himself. He's sick, then he needs treatment, I said. Not a line of credit with my name on it. She looked small, older than her years. We don't have the money for rehab, she said. We barely keep the lights on as it is. That's not my fault, I said gently. I'm not the one at the table. She flinched like I'd hit her. I thought you'd understand, she whispered. That's why we were so proud you were going into intelligence. But you're just a gone. Up there in your officer world. I understand more than you think, I said. That's the problem, at Fort Huachuca. Between learning how to map human terrain and memorizing the intelligence cycle, I did something I'd been avoiding for years. I pulled my full credit report and requested a fraud alert. No, Dad hadn't opened cards in my name. Not yet. But seeing his pattern with that envelope made me realize the only reason he hadn't was probably because he hadn't thought of it. Not because he wouldn't. I called my bank and put notes on my accounts. No new credit or loans without speaking directly to me. I changed my online banking passwords, PINs, security questions. When USAA asked why, I said, I have a first-degree relative with a gambling problem. I'm protecting us both. The woman on the phone didn't sound surprised. We hear that more than you'd think. Ma'am, she said. Good call. I sat through the mandatory sharp briefing and the cyber awareness stuff like everyone else. Then I went to a voluntary lunchtime session I'd never paid attention to before. Financial readiness for junior officers, the instructor, a civilian CFP with a crew cart and a no-nonsense tone. Wrote 3 words on the flip chart. Earn, own, protect. Everyone focuses on the first one, he said. How to make more. How to get bonuses. But the second and third are where you lose years of your life if you're not careful. He talked about divorce. Bad investments, business opportunities that were just dressed up scams. At the end, he said, the number one group that gets exploited financially. Not clueless 20-year-olds. Responsible 30-year-old women with decent incomes and guilty consciences. A few people laughed. I did and single quotes T. It was like he'd drawn a sketch of my future if I didn't change course. After class, I stayed behind. My dad gambled away my commissioning gift, I said. He's used family emergencies to soak up any spare cash since I was 18. How do I do right by my family without making my whole life a slush fund? He didn't give me a spreadsheet. He gave me a sentence. Your duty to your country is contractual, he said. Your duty to your parents is moral. They're not the same thing. If you bankrupt the second to fill the first, you lose both. I wrote that down in my green notebook. The real test came 6 months into bulk. When Dad called from an unknown number, Hey, Lieutenant, he said, trying for breezy. You busy? I'm always busy, I said. What's wrong? He cleared his throat. Just a little situation, he said. I'm in a bit of a bind. I might have gotten into it with some guys over money. Nothing serious, he added quickly, hearing my silence. Just, if I don't make a payment this week, they're going to take the car. Your mother's car? She needs it for work. You know she does. There it was. The old equation. His debt, her need, my guilt. How much? I asked, old instincts flaring. 3 grand, he said. Just a short-term thing. I'll pay you back with interest. Swear to God. I'd asked the bank, but you know how they are. And you've got that officer pay now. And no, I said. Silence. Double quotes what? He said, no, I repeated. I'm not paying your markers. Dad, I'm not a bank. I'm not your bookie's insurance plan. I'm your daughter. You'd let your mother lose her car? He snapped. After everything she's done for you. Mom shouldn't have to pay for your baits either, I said. But she has less leverage than I do. I have one tool, and it's saying no. So I'm using it. He went from pleading to furious in one breath. You ungrateful little, he began. I hung up. My hand shook afterwards. I felt sick. I wanted to rip my uniform off, drive to Missouri, hand 3 grand to whoever needed it, and make this go away. Instead, I called my mom. Dad says they're going to take your car, I said. Is that true? She sighed. Your father's drama queening, she said. He did borrow against the title. They could repossess it if he doesn't pay. But I've got options. What options? I asked. She hesitated. I could trade shifts, pick up more nights, she said. Your aunt offered to help for a bit. We'll manage. We always do. You shouldn't have to, I said. He should. We both chose him, she said quietly. You didn't. Remember that. It stopped me cold. She was right. They were partners in that mess, however uneven. I was not. That didn't mean I didn't care. It meant my care had limits. That night, I wrote in my notebook, I will not use my rank to outrun my dad's consequences. Every time I wanted to cave, I read that. It wasn't clean. It wasn't saintly. It was just. Survival. Years later, as a captain, I'd sit across from soldiers in my office dealing with their own family financial blow-ups. Private first class whose mom had opened 3 store cards in her name. Specialist whose uncle had borrowed his car and wrecked it uninsured. Sergeant whose ex-wife kept calling his unit begging for money because he owes me. I'd tell them the practical steps. Pull your credit. Call the bank. Talk to JAG. Change your passwords. But I'd also tell them the line the CFP had given me. Your duty to your family is moral. Not infinite. Sometimes, I'd share a sanitized version of the commissioning gift story. The envelope. The casino. The moment in the kitchen at 17 a.m. most of the time, I didn't have to get far. Their eyes would say, yeah. I've seen that look in my dad's face. My dad, and I aren't a strange. That would be simpler, in some ways. Clean cuts always are. We talk on holidays. He asks about my duty station, complains about gas prices, tells the same dealership stories like they're new. He has ups and downs with the gambling. Some months he's been good, others. Mom's voice is quieter on the phone, but he no longer calls me for small favors. Not because he got better, because, eventually, even he realized I meant it. A funny thing happens when you stop being someone's emergency money. They find other ways to cope. Or they don't. But either way, they stop dragging your future down with them. On my last visit home, he brought out the old commissioning note. The one he'd written on cheap card stock with the fancy blue script. It was a good note, he said. Half defensive. I meant it. I believe you, I said. I just chased it, he said. Like everything else, I looked at him. At the lines around his eyes. At the way his hands shook a little when he lit his cigarette. Next time you want to do something nice for me, I said. Call me before you go to the boat. He snorted. You still think you're smarter than me, he said. I think I've seen this movie, I said. I don't like the ending. He didn't apologize. I didn't forgive. We just acknowledged. Sometimes that's as much closure as you get. If you've made it this far and you're staring at a power of attorney form, or a bank app, or an envelope under your mattress that you're suddenly not sure about, here's what I need you to hear. You can love someone and still lock your wallet. You can believe your dad, or mom, or partner has an illness, gambling, spending, chaos, and still refuse to let that illness bill you every month. Generosity is a choice, not an obligation that comes stapled to your DNA. If your family's definition of loyalty requires you to wreck your own financial future, that's not loyalty. That's exploitation with better branding. You are allowed to say, I serve my country with my whole life. My money is not up for grabs. And if anyone ever looks at your uniform, or your paycheck, or your promotion and says, "That's our win," 2. You are allowed to smile, raise your glass, and answer, "Thanks. I'll let you know how I choose to celebrate it." We were on a field exercise at Fort Huachuca, sun going down over low brown hills, soldiers cleaning weapons and swatting flies. I was the brand new platoon leader, trying to look like I knew what I was doing. To LT Parker had that fresh out of our OTC look I recognized from my own commissioning photo booths to Shiny. Salute a bit to Crisp, he'd been quiet all day. That evening, while I was triple checking the duty roster, he hovered by my Humvee. "Something on your mind, Lieutenant?" I asked. He shuffled his feet. "My dad keeps texting me about this investment opportunity," he said. "Wants me to send him my signing bonus. Says it's stupid to let it sit in a bank. I don't know if I'm being ungrateful or if this is shady." There it was. My story, minus a casino and a blue envelope, playing itself out in a different accent. I thought about what to say. "I'm not a financial advisor," I said. "But I am the daughter of a man who thinks every dollar I make is a group project. Here's what I've learned the hard way." We sat on the tailgate of my vehicle while the coyotes yipped in the distance, and I walked him through a few questions. "Does your dad have a track record of successful investments?" "No. He's always about to catch a big break." "Has he ever paid you back when he's borrowed from you?" A pause. "No." "Does this opportunity have actual paperwork? Or is it all over the phone?" "All over the phone." "Then it's not an opportunity," I said. "It's a feeling he wants you to underwrite." He stared at the dust at his boots. "I feel bad saying no," he admitted. "He keeps telling me he never had this kind of help, and he wants me to share the blessing with the family." "Guilt. Always guilt. You're allowed to feel bad and say no," I said. "Those two things can happen at the same time. Your dad's money problems existed before your commission. They'll exist after. Your bonus is a lifeboat, not a patch for his sinking ship." He nodded slowly. "Do you tell your folks no?" he asked. "Now I do," I said. "Took me a decade and a degree to learn the word." He laughed a little, shaky. That night, in my tent, I opened my green notebook and wrote another line under the rules column. "Teach down the chain what you learn the hard way," because at some point, this stopped being just about me and my dad and that envelope. It became about the pattern. Back at Huachuca, my class had a module on insider threats. We learned how to spot people being pressured, bribed, or coerced into giving up secrets. They showed us case studies of analysts blackmailed over debts, contractors squeezed because of gambling. One slide had 3 bullet points. Unexplained access to large sums of money frequent. Unexplained travel, sudden pressure from family or associates over finances. They might as well have put my dad's face next to it on the way out. My friend Hernandez elbowed me. "While we spend all this time learning to protect systems," she said, "but no one really shows us how to protect ourselves. Maybe that's our homework." I said. We started joking about starting an underground messy families support group for officers. But the idea stuck. At our next informal hail and farewell in the bar common room, after the usual bad karaoke and beer, Hernandez clinked a bottle with a spoon. "All right, lieutenants," she said. "New game. Who here has a parent, sibling, or ex who thinks your paycheck is community property?" Half the room raised their hands, laughing like it was a drinking game. "What's the worst line they've used?" she asked. "My mom said, 'We carried you for 9 months. You can carry the mortgage for a few years.' My brother calls my bar the family housing allowance. My dad told me God gave me rank so I could bless him." We laughed. But underneath the jokes was something else. Recognition, resentment, exhaustion. We swapped practical tips, revoking POAs, freezing credit, scripting no in ways our families could hear. One person said, "I thought I was the only one. Everyone on Instagram makes it look like their families are just proud and supportive. They aren't showing the Cash App requests." Meanwhile, my dad kept being my dad. He didn't ask directly for money again after the no on the $3,000. But he tried new angles. He'd send photos of bills on the kitchen table, close-ups of red final notice stamps, screenshots of overdraft warnings. "Rough month," he texted. "Sure would be easier if we had someone with a steady income around." I'd stare at my phone, every muscle twitching with the urge to fix it. Then I'd put it face down and go for a run. I learned to distinguish two different feelings. The pain of watching someone I love make bad choices and suffer, the panic of thinking it was my job to stop it. The first is unavoidable. The second is optional. My therapist, because yes. This army officer eventually hauled herself to behavioral health, drew it on a whiteboard for me, a big circle labeled Dad's life, a smaller circle labeled my life. Where's the line? She asked. In theory. Here, I said, drawing a neat boundary. In practice, she said. I scribbled over both circles until it looked like a Venn diagram of chaos. That, she said, is how you end up with migraines. And no retirement. We spent weeks untangling my reflex to step in. Every time I said, but what if she'd ask? And what will actually happen if you don't? Not what disaster does your brain predict. What actually turns out, most of the time, what actually happens is, people find another solution, or they face a consequence. They lose a car, they move, they get embarrassed. They yell, the world does not end. About a year into my first assignment, I was sent on temporary duty to attend a joint intel course. Mixed services, mixed ages. One of the instructors was a Navy lieutenant commander with salt and pepper hair and the aura of someone who'd seen things. He opened one session on security clearances with a blunt statement. Financial chaos is one of the fastest ways to lose your clearance. He looked around the room. I'm not talking about student loans and car payments, he said. I'm talking about undisclosed debts, secret obligations. Helping out a family member whose life is always on fire. You could feel the air change when your SF-86 asks about who you support. It's not just nosiness, he went on. It's because if someone else has their hand in your pocket, they have a say in your decisions. He paused. Control your money, he said, or someone else will. And if that someone else is chaotic or criminal, congratulations, you've just become an insider threat, and not even on purpose, for me. That snapped something into focus. This wasn't just about me, Dad, and the $1,000. This was about my clearance, my career, whether I could be trusted with other people's secrets, if my finances were porous because I couldn't say no to my father. That made me a risk, full stop. That rough frame helped. My loyalty to the mission has always been easier to access than my loyalty to myself. The last big test in this saga came when I made captain and PCSD to Germany. New country, new casts, new time zone. Same old phone number. Dad called just after I'd landed and gotten my German SIM set up. How's the land of beer and bratwurst? LT. He said he never quite got used to the promotion. Pretty, I said. Cold, different. Listen, he said, voice dropping into that familiar I'm about to ask you for something register. Your mom's talking about coming over to visit. Once in a lifetime. See, you're up while we can still walk. You know. That'd be nice, I said cautiously. Yeah, he said. Only thing is, flights are crazy. Hotels, we figure. You're already over there. So maybe you could spot us the air tickets, and we'll handle the rest. Call it our thank you for raising you right. He actually laughed at his own line. I closed my eyes for a second. Old Emily's brain. They're getting older. Mom deserves this. You can afford it. Don't be selfish. New Emily's brain. If you pay for this, he'll need help with spending money. Then with a credit card bill. It doesn't end. What's Mom think? I asked. She'd love to see you, he said. That's not what I asked, I said. Silence. She doesn't like asking you for money, he admitted. She says you've got your own life now. Wise woman, here's my offer, I said. I'll pay for one economy ticket. For Mom, if you want to come too. You fund yourself, he spluttered. You expect me to let my wife fly across the world alone, he said. What kind of daughter would be the kind who knows you will not suddenly look at a free plane ticket, enter a European casino and turn into a paragon of restraint, I said. Mom can bring a friend, or a cousin, or fly with a tour group, or you can save and come together. But I'm not beefing up your bankroll on another continent. He tried every angle. Guilt, pride, mockery. You really think I'm that bad? He said, finally. I think you have an illness, I said. And I think if I keep funding it, I'm part of it. There was a long exhale. You've gotten hard, he said. Armies turned you into a rock. Rocks don't bend, I said. That's the point. In the end, Mom came with a church tour group. I met her in Munich. We did Christmas markets, drank hot chocolate, saw cathedrals. At night, back in my little rented German flat. She'd look around and say things like, "I can't believe you did all this. You helped," I'd say, and mean it, up to a point. She had worked herself into the ground so I could study. She'd kept the house semi-functional while Dad tried to burn it down. But I also knew now that there was a difference between honouring that and handing over my login details when she flew back. She hugged me in the airport and whispered, "Thank you for bringing me. And thank you for not bringing your father." We both laughed, a little guiltily, but there was relief in it, too.